Here we go live. And hello, South Florida. Welcome to another live edition of the Real Estate Show. South Florida's #1 program about real estate and America's longest running daily radio show about real estate. Each and every weekday evening, we bring you a show packed full of information about real estate for real estate buyers, real estate sellers, and real estate investors. We hope that you'll make this a regular stop for your real estate educational journey. We kind of fashion each day of the week a little bit different angle on the real estate question. We talk about a theme, pose an issue for the beginning of the week, and then run it through the rest of the week. We've been doing that very much so. Of course, it's hard to spend any time at all without being involved in what's going on right now with the pandemic, of course, with the elections, of course, with what's going on in a booming real estate market, what was a booming stock market, which has shown a bit of volatility in the last couple of days. Obviously, with a lot of uncertainty, all the chips are on the table now for the elections coming up in what is this, about 40 days or so. So we've got a lot going on. Maybe it's more. Yeah, maybe about 45 days till the elections. So the campaigns are ramping up, and of course everyone is sort of buttoning down to see what the outcome of what's going to go on now. Now, as usual, on a Monday we talk about the agenda for the week. We set up what the theme topics of the week and the agenda will be for the week. And we sort of talk about real estate more from let's talk about maybe an entrepreneur's or a business person's perspective. And more, I think you're starting to see people look at real estate as perhaps another form of income if real estate isn't already their main income. If you're in the real estate business, and we have a lot of realtors that listen to our show, a lot of real estate investors that listen to our show. Otherwise, maybe you're just a homeowner getting a little bit of information about the market and curious. But our Mondays really kind of looks at it from more of a professional's point of view. And I recommend that if you are in the market for a property, that you listen particularly to the Monday show, because it'll give you a little bit of insight, not only to how to approach real estate from a more professional and ultimately more profitable way, but also it will bring you a little bit of an idea where the market is, and you can just apply some of that in your house hunting strategy, and I guarantee you that it will make it better for you. So then on Tuesdays, we like to get a little bit more down to the brass nuts, brass nuts and bolts, whatever you want to call it. But we call it our tools, tips, and techniques edition of the Real Estate Show. And this particular week, we were talking a little bit more about navigating the question mark of the new moratorium imposed by the CDC. And as I mentioned, I still find it amusing to think that I'm talking about the CDC and real estate in the same conversation, let alone evictions and the CDC. But through a little-known rule, the president was able to help Americans to stave off an imminent eviction and a foreclosure, extend the foreclosure moratorium, because quite frankly, we're not out of the pandemic and there are still some things that need to be worked out that will make it better, hopefully for a softer landing all the way across the board. So that was our conversation Tuesday, giving you a little bit more of an idea of where you might stand or where you might draw some resources. Now, that kind of leads to our Wednesday show, which is back up into a more conceptual, more of a market level look at things, which with our weekly mid-report. And on the midweek report this week, we were talking about a couple of huge trends, and why I believe that while real estate is probably in for a little bit of a shakeup once these moratoriums end, I don't think it's going to be a long-lived one, barring some other outside factor or effect that we haven't even talked about. But when it comes to the demographics, we've already talked a lot about that, the baby boomers, the millennials. But there's two other really big trends that have been making their mark on the market. And that is, number one, the urban flight. Pandemic has opened up the floodgate to remote working and long distance or no distance commuting, that more people are starting to consider the options of working virtually. And if that's the case, why not pick a better quality of life than cramped up in the densely populated, traffic congested big cities? And so that has manifested itself. New York, Chicago, to name two, are experiencing that on a big scale. And we're seeing properties in New York sit while properties in the destination places like Florida, Arizona, Texas, and other outlying more suburban areas are as busy as can be, with inventory just completely thin. And so then there's been another trend, and partially it's been coming along because of the increase in the prices of properties, which have been consistently going up now for quite a number of years. Inventory is a problem, affordability is becoming a problem, and so you're seeing a lot more do-it-yourself. And as people ended up quarantining in place, spending a lot more time at home, having to do a lot more at home, i.e. study, work, sleep, exercise, there have been just a tremendous flood of do-it-yourself projects, and home improvements have been just all over the place. I don't think anyone can talk about a neighborhood where they don't see new roofs, new porches, new windows, additions, upgrades, kitchens, and so forth. And so there was an interesting article that we were just looking at, is that the convergence between the do-it-yourself and the urban flight is really helping to further extend the rally in the real estate market. And that was our sort of our Wednesday conversation. Now, as I said in our Wednesday conversation, that leads us to sort of, let's reach all the way back now to when the pandemic first hit. I talked about the first thing that everyone needed to do, number one, is to be calm. Because as you can see today, we're all still here. We're dealing with the pandemic in different ways and in different phases in different states, but we're all still here. And one of the main things that I said at first, right off the bat, is I said, you got to conserve cash. You got to cut expenses everywhere and anywhere you can. And I'll call that my phase one that I was telling everybody. Then I wanted to talk about phase two, which, by the way, phase one is not only to cut expenses, but to conserve cash. Don't spend it. Don't, at this point right now, I don't want you to do anything with the money that you save through cutting the expenses other than to build it up, store it, stockpile it. And that was phase one, conserve cash, cut expenses. Then we started talking about phase two, and we've been talking a lot about phase two, which is to get educated. Now you got to sit back, that you've got your expenses at their bare minimum. You got a little bit of a cash reserve. Maybe you use the forbearance as part of that way to build the cash. But the bottom line is that now you're surveying the landscape. And we've been doing the same. And I said, there was a critical thing with this new CDC involvement in the real estate market. One of the things that it did do, while Congress and the Senate don't have clarity, I think we have a lot more clarity, knowing that this moratorium and sort of the stay on foreclosures is now being extended to December 31st with or without Congress. And so That clarity now allows us to start inching into phase 3. And I'm going to talk about that in the second half of the program. And I'm going to go deep into that because I think it's time to really start talking about phase 3. You want to know what phase 3 is? Well, let's stay right there because we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear a few words from our sponsors. But when we come back, I promise you, we're going to talk about phase 3, how to do it, and how we are going to help you in that endeavor for phase 3 in the real estate expansion market. So don't touch that dial. You're listening to The Real Estate Show. My name is Eric Willner, and I will be right back. So how's everybody out there in YouTube land? Here we are in the home, the gym, the office, the studio, and doing our own fair share of DIY projects, both here and at the other property. But we have been working also sort of sneaking into phase 3 already, and I'm very excited to talk about this. In fact, I want to talk about this in the form of let's call it a game. You know, it's a lot more palatable to take this on as a game. Orange skies in California, man. Those wildfires just won't stop, will they? Hopefully you guys don't have too many breathing issues out there. When I grew up surfing in Brazil, whenever we saw orange skies, that was usually a forebear that the next day was going to be a great surfing day and a beautiful day. So we still love to see the orange skies, but they're not the same ones you're talking about. We've got some other really big announcements coming up in the next 2 weeks. A couple of things. You know, our challenge. We just got our certification in, so I'm excited about that as well. That is a big deal, and I think we're right down the path of where we need to be for the real estate market. Some interesting crosswinds, though. And welcome back. For those of you just joining us, we are listening to The Real Estate Show, South Florida's #1 program about real estate, America's longest running daily radio show about real estate. And you may be listening to us on our original AM station in South Florida, 1470. You might be listening to us on our FM stations, 95.3, 96.9, and 103.9 on the other end. So from end to end on the FM dial, on the AM dial, now with, now for the last couple of years, iHeartRadio has been carrying our show. If you want to listen to us on the go, you can bring us with you simply by downloading the free app, either iHeartRadio or the TuneIn app, and just search for WWNN Money Talk Radio 1470. That's WWNN 1470 Money Talk Radio. And you'll know that you have to listen to us at the appropriate live streaming time, which is 8 p.m. 5 days a week. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. So for those of my friends who are listening and watching right now on our YouTube Live in California, it would be 5 p.m. So you can also, if it's easier to remember, just go to our website at automaticlandlord.com. That's automaticlandlord.com. They're doing some reconstruction on the page. I used to point up here, and I have to point over here where the real estate tab is. You can listen to us live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. on our website. There's a listen live button there under the Real Estate Show. Or if you miss our show or want to go back and re-listen to any of our past shows, all of our shows going back many years they're archived as well. This is a lot of educational material, so it's worth archiving. So it's literally a library of real estate information without having to go to all of the in and out of town guru seminars. You got it all in one place, in your place. So once again, that's automaticlandlord.com. And like I said, we're doing a whole bunch of sort of reconstruction on there to accommodate some big announcements that we're going to have coming up this week, including a 90-day challenge. We're going to talk about a recent certification that we got, a big move in the way of affordable housing. And that brings me back to our Thursday show, which is our Thursday ATM edition of the Real Estate Show, which is the About the Money. And as I was saying, since the beginning of the COVID, we were talking about phase one is that when there was absolute 100% uncertainty of what this was, how long it's going to be, who it's going to affect, what it really is. And I said, when you see the likes of an entire globe shutting down, countries from Europe to Asia to the United States, you knew it was serious stuff. So the first thing, which was good advice, phase one, what we call it, is to cut expenses, conserve cash. Cut expenses, conserve cash. And hopefully you took my advice and did that, because that would be putting you in a pretty good place. We are now 7 months later. Remember, it started, March was the shutdown, April, May, June, July, August, September now. We're in month 7. And there's no question that we'll be in month 7, 8, and through the end of the year, 9. We went into phase 2, which I said, okay, now that you have readopted how you work, hopefully you either have a job or have a new job or are able to work remotely, or, and this is where there is a tremendous trend towards the gig economy. We talked about, we dedicated a whole week several weeks ago to the concept of the gig economy. We talked about different things that you can do. And one of the most popular areas of creating new passive perpetual income is real estate, right? And so what we were recommending is now get educated, get informed, start looking around at your local marketplace. Pay attention to what we're talking about, because we talk a lot about different marketplaces, particularly during our midweek report, what to do. If you're already a landlord, we've been giving a lot of information yesterday, even talking about where you can get additional assistance besides the stimulus, and there's a lot of resources out there. So phase 2 was to get educated. Now we are ready to start moving from phase 2, get educated, cut my costs, conserve my cash, and now we want to start using that to now start in the process of eliminating debt where possible, further lowering our expenses, giving us much more flexibility in what we do. And at the same time also, let's start building equity again, cut by shredding the debt. We talked about the automatic landlord debt shredder. And we in fact, if you've been listening to us talk about this for a long time as the debt solution, but this has become such a refined process that we have been talking a lot about the debt shredder. We have been doing additional workshops, free workshops, to teach you more about how you can apply the concepts of debt shredding in your own life. And end of summer, we took a break on some of those presentations, but starting next Thursday, a week from today, you can attend our next workshop. This is where we are going to start talking about the joint trends of shredding your debt, buying and building assets. Shredding your debt, buying assets. and where we can buy assets that shred debt faster. It's a very interesting, it becomes a snowball effect, and one that if you want to come out swinging in the economy, you know that everybody is in a wait and see pattern, and many people have literally checked out. The competition out there for real estate investors right now has been letting up. And so while there have been a lot of homeowners making transition, there is an entire area of the market that has been, I'm going to just say, overlooked, to put it lightly. And so when we move into the next couple of weeks, we're going to start talking about some of the things that we're doing in these overlooked markets. And certainly we're going to look for some of you to come along and for the ride with us in these, I'm going to say, hidden gems in the marketplace, particularly as we round out the year and we come to the end of the moratoriums. There'll be a new presidential term one way or another. Whoever decides, whoever wins, and whoever the American people decide, and I hope it is the American people that decide, and we don't have a whole other complication, because then that changes everything going forward. But I will tell you that that if you've been following not the CDC phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but the real estate show phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and so you're going to want to stay tuned and talk about that. And one way to take a look at this and think about this as a game. Okay, investing is really a game. The game you play in life is really a game. And a lot of times people are playing the game but don't realize they're in the game. So how would you like to play a game? A famous line from an 80s flick about artificial intelligence that thinks it's playing a game, when in our reality, it's about to blow up the world. And the game you're playing for real, though, is financial life. And sadly, many people are not winning at the game. In fact, I hate to say it, but most people are losing at the game called financial life. Now, think about this. I can use several scenarios. So, when you started a game, in this case, we'll call it the mortgage game, for example. Most Americans believe that buying a home is one of life's biggest goals, and that financial security comes by following the American dream. And I will say it does, but are you playing the game all out, and are you playing the game by the best rules? I want you to think about when you bought your first home. Typically, you, your partner, your spouse start looking for that perfect house. You do a little Google research. If you did it recently, maybe you did, you looked in those the MLS books if you did it a long time ago. Anyway, you find out that you need a mortgage lender that gives you an economical range that you can afford. And that whole question, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, the home or the loan? Let me tell you right now, it's the loan. And I'm going to tell you that there are some optimal things you can do about which loan you choose, and when you choose the loan, how to pay it. And it's not necessarily by using the instructions on the label provided on the package, i.e. the closing statement. So then you call a real estate agent, you begin your journey bouncing from house to house looking for the one. Maybe after a few months of searching, finding the flaws in this one, finding the ups and the downs in that one, you finally come across what seems to be the perfect compromise for the two of you. Then comes the part where most of us forget to read the rule book, the signing of the mortgage loan. And a little side note, if you like games, try the Cash Flow Game by Rich Dad. It's a great little game. It talks about a lot of the principles, and it's a real eye-opener. Anyway, I'm not going to be able to play out the whole scenario of the game, but I am going to tell you that we're going to dive deep into the concept of how to take your existing finances and optimize them and be able to pay down your mortgage 2 or 3 times faster than what you're doing right now. And that's what we call the automatic landlord debt shredder solution. And we're going to be talking a lot more about that as we go into this new phase 3 of pay down debt, buy more assets, because as the economy comes out of this pandemic and this state of suspension that we talked about yesterday, now you want to have some forward momentum, which means pay down your debt, buy assets, build equity. Pay down debt, build equity, buy assets, and it starts working together and it becomes a momentum for you. And if you want to learn more, if you want to talk to me privately on your own about a strategy for you, give us a call. The toll-free number, it's 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779, or contact us at automaticlandlord.com. Well, that's it for today. That's Eric Willner signing off for our Thursday ATM edition of the Real Estate Show. We'll be back again here, same place, same time tomorrow. Until then, drive safe and make it a great day. Man, you do the same. Oh, by the way, would you do me a favor? Take the Foreclosure Man commercial out until further notice. Thank you.